welcome to you. My name is Balisa Dembe and this is Afternoon Express. Now it is a Tuesday cook along, but today we're doing things a little differently. If you love yourself some carbs, specifically bread, listen up closely because we've got some incredible recipes up our sleeves. But I can't do this alone. We've got our resident chef and resident foodie, Chef Dumi, in the loft. Dumi, how are you doing today?
I am doing absolutely well, Balisa, today because we're not just cooking along, we are baking along with an amazing chef who's going to be showing us tips and tricks, but I don't want to say too much. Let's just actually give it over to you.
Absolutely. The incredible guest chef for today is Chef Francois. Now, welcome to the loft, Chef.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Now, you definitely are going to be putting us through our paces when it comes to baking, and I'm not much of a baker. In fact, I have never baked a loaf of bread in my life, so you definitely have to go slow today.
Sure, no problem.
So what will we be making?
So today we'll be making just a simple bread dough, which is literally just 4 ingredients, and with that you can make so much amazing things about it.
Oh, very much looking forward to that. Mzansi, head over to our Afternoon Express website to get the full recipe list and ingredients to make this incredible, fresh, doughy, carbolicious bread at home. Okay, so what do we need to start off?
So, firstly, of course, your flour, then you have your salt, your yeast, and your water. So basically we're going to start off adding your water into the flour. So we can just basically, you can just chuck it in. So basically you don't need to play around and leave a bit. We're just going to go straight into that.
Okay.
So after that, we're going to pour in our yeast.
Okay.
There you go. So obviously our salt we'll put in a little bit later. That normally sometimes kills these. Depends on what type of salt you use. Sea salt's more hecticer than like desert salt.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, Dumi, last week we heard the exact same thing from Chef Sipiel. She also said that sea salt, you know, has all that flavor.
Exactly. No, absolutely. So you can either go messy with your hand or you can just mix everything with a wooden spoon. So take your wooden spoon. We're just going to mix all the ingredients together.
Now, Chef, we're making a bread dough, and I know with a lot of times when people make bread dough, there's always either sugar, because they say the sugar works with the yeast, because the yeast needs something to eat, to chow on. But now we've got salt and there's no sugar. Is there a specific reason why not in this recipe?
Yeah, I mean, the flours these days got so many protein in it, and so it actually helps it like just get better than throwing in some sugar. It makes sense. So basically you can add sugar, but flour, water, salt, and yeast, it does a trick.
Okay.
And these days people don't like sugar in their bread.
Yeah.
Sugars are for the toppings.
Okay, that's interesting.
So now everything is going to start getting together.
Okay.
Like this is always like the messy part.
Yeah, I'm already starting to dust off my pads. Okay, I love it.
Okay, so once like everything is just like getting there, you're gonna start taking it off with your hand.
Okay.
Now things are going to get slightly messy. I've got to mention, you can obviously use your lukewarm water, or you can use cold water. It's going to take a longer process to make it. So there's nothing wrong using lukewarm water. It just activates the yeast much more quicker.
Okay.
Cool. So now you're going to basically just want to fold it in from the sides, so that it basically just all comes together. Okay. So I know a lot of people say, standing here like for 7,000 hours kneading. So they call this basically autolyze. So autolyze is you just mix everything together, and you have to have patience. So the dough, which is your water, salt, and yeast, will basically form and knead your dough for you.
Okay.
Which makes sense, yeah.
All right, Chef, what dough are we using today? Because I know that there's a difference between bread flour, cake flour, self-raising flour. Yes. What is the trick to making sure, what flour do you want to be using for this kind of dough?
You want to use a strong flour, which is your bread flour. Okay. It's much more coarse than your cake flour. So the cake flour and bread flour is normally exactly the same. It's just the one is more coarse than cake flour. And it's heavy, strong in protein, and the hydration is very high. So that means, it's like nice and bready, nice and doughy, and more dense in a way.
That's so good to know. I mean, Chef, it seems like you definitely know your stuff when it comes to bread and all things bakery.
Yes.
Where did you get your start in baking and this passion?
I mean, it started off when I was about 12 years old. Table cleaning at a restaurant in East London. Then, work my way in, seeing the kitchen staff always working with pizza dough. And I just want to get in there, but, I was too young. I was just a cashier and a table cleaner. So when the time came, I got an opportunity to just be able to touch the dough, to feel the dough, to taste it, and to play around with it. And that's when it started, when it sparked. And,
that's so funny. I mean, Chef Francois Dumi had dough, real bread dough. Some of us were playing with just Play-Doh.
I know. I know, and the fact that now something that was just a game has now become a career. You used to love it and be fascinated by it, and now you actually made a career of it, and you're making bread, these artisanal breads that look and smell amazing. I mean, if you're in the Loft South Africa, you would be taken by the smell of the fresh bread. I mean, freshly baked bread beats anything, I think.
No, absolutely. And it's, the cool thing is it's so simple, and you can do so much. I know I said it before, but it's just like ridiculous. And
I'm absolutely here for it. And also the thing about bread that is very universal. I mean, almost in any culture you can find bread, and people loving to, whether it's starter, main meal, dipping it into a soup or a sauce, or having it, mixing it up for desserts. I love the versatility of bread.
Breaking bread on the table. It's bringing friends, family. It sparks a conversation. It's just wonderful.
Magical.
Can I take this out onto the surface? Because I feel like this bowl must be...
So you can take it out. Then you can basically just all these bits of flour that you see, you just want to evaporate and just get it done. So what I normally do is I just take one hand, pull it on the surface, and then pull it up, and you just take it and go into like a circle.
Okay. And then
Sorry, you don't want to over knead it. So if everything is intact and basically all these bits of flours are in, then you are nearly done.
I'm loving this. This is so easy. I mean, Dumi, how well versed are you with making bread?
I mean, if you consider it dombolo bread, then I could say in that in that sense, I could be well versed, but not this. This is, I mean, look at the calmness in which he's doing that. I'm already thinking to myself, am I doing the right thing?
But I'm loving it. I love learning a new skill in the kitchen, because that's essentially what it's all about. So right now we are almost halfway with creating this delicious bread. When we come back from the break, we're going to be finishing this off?
Yes, absolutely.
So what are we going to be up to?
So basically, we're going to do some exciting stuff, fillings, portioning, and just basically what to do with bread dough.
Okay.
And exciting stuff about it.
Very much looking forward to that. Mzansi, don't forget about social media. We all love the smell and the aroma of freshly baked bread within our households. So let us know online using that hashtag Afternoon Express. Have you ever tried to make bread yourself? Fresh bread. Coming up, Chef Francois takes us to recipe number 2.
Express yourself.
welcome back to Afternoon Express. Now today we are baking along with our guest chef, Chef Francois, and we have been making a very simple 4-ingredient dough that now we're going to be creating the delicious filling. Now Chef Dumi, you've done such an incredible job by introducing us to Chef Francois because wow, my mind is blown to the fresh ways we can enjoy bread.
And that's the funny part about it, the fact that when he told me that this is one recipe that you can create all of this with. So what you're seeing now, these breads were all started with this one dough, you know, whether obviously you can chop and change the flour, like you said, you can use cake flour or wheat flour, but in essence, this is what it is.
So Chef Francois, just to recap for South Africa, to get this delicious dough, what ingredients did we get in, and then what did you lay in front of us now to create the filling?
Perfect. So yeah, like I said, the perfect dough is a simple bread that is basically yeast, water, flour, and
Salt.
And salt. Boom.
That's correct.
And then the filling.
That's correct. So the filling is quite diverse. You will see there's chocolate, which is one of my favorites because there's no sugar inside here, so it's like it's just simply amazing.
I love that.
It's not too sweet. Then we have lovely cheese, some bacon bits, and some mixed herbs, some nuts, of course, and some cheese.
Some more cheese. Now, I am not fighting this recipe, but something that I'm finding quite curious, Chef, is the fact that you omitted the sugar from the dough, and now you're going to substitute it with the chocolate pieces. Now, I'm just looking forward to gathering around the dining room table, Dumi, to try this. So let's get cooking.
Cool. Perfect. So you want to basically dip your fingers into the oil, and you can just basically spread it on the top of your bread dough, and then you're basically going to take it out and then just place it on the surface.
Okay, so is this essentially why we don't have flour on our surface right now?
Yeah, flour is always a bit messy and it dries it out basically. Then your ingredients struggle to, contain and sit on your. So it's actually easier.
I love that.
And of course, if you have a beautiful bread dough, it normally doesn't stick.
Okay.
So if you don't use any flour, then you're a great baker.
You did it well. Okay.
And just to also advise, Chef, this is dough that we made, and this has been resting, and it proved, and then we broke it down, and now it's basically ready to fill, right?
And you can actually see, there's no sugar. It's like, it's full
full of
ingredients. It's like amazing. Yeah. Okay, so basically you want to, let me just see here, all right, make it into a
rectangle almost.
Rectangle, that's correct.
Almost just like a normal shape of bread.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so then you have your flavors, of course. So you're going to take basically your knife or a baker's knife. Then you're going to basically cut. It's like 100 grams. So you can. It's all up to you which size you want.
Okay.
And then.
So, Chef, I can see that you are cutting our bread. Do we cut all the way through? And why cut and not pull it in pieces?
So basically, we're gonna basically dip it into or attach it to our ingredients, and then we're gonna basically stretch it out and make quite different varieties of snacks or
So it's got to be neat.
Yes.
Okay.
And also, I think you probably would knock the air out again if you because you press it down and then.
Exactly. So you're going to divide it, and then we're going to basically just pull it slightly out.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay.
We're just copying. Some of us are just copying.
This is my bed because the sound of it's just amazing.
It actually sounds like it's full of air, Palisa. I don't know if you can hear that. It feels hollow. So.
Absolutely fluffy, but also so easy to stretch out. I'm really not struggling. It almost does the work for me.
Yeah, exactly. So with all offcuts of bread, I normally put in, back into my bowl and cover it. If I'm going to bake bread again, you can freeze it, and then you can reuse it in your dough again as a starter or whatever you want to.
Okay.
Yeah. Right, now we're off to our toppings. So this is exciting. Now you can make basically any type of thing that you want to create. But I'm going to show you this first simple step. So you will see I'm going to grab you some water.
Okay,
here.
Get you some.
In our little.
There you go. Perfect. So what you want to do, we can start off actually with our seeds. We're going to just put our seeds on the side like so.
Okay.
Then you're gonna take
our little brush.
brushy, and you're going to just brush the top of your one piece of dough.
Just the one side.
Just the one side.
And just with the water.
Just with the water.
Okay.
The water just creates basically that the seeds can stick onto it.
Okay.
Okay, now you're going to basically tip it over.
Oh, wow.
Perfect.
Okay.
Now you just quickly need to make some little bit space. You can just put this over there, over there. All right. Now you're going to place it in front of you.
So we roll it around all the way to just that one side.
Just at one side.
Okay.
So then you're going to
Do we
basically...
expose the side? No.
You're going to...
It's face down.
Yes, that's correct. Perfect.
Okay.
And you're just going to stretch it out again. And then you're going to twirl it like
Ooh.
this. So it creates a beautiful...
Okay, I see
There you
you.
if that doesn't work, you can basically just go
Yeah,
like
I think I
that.
was going to do that.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then, before we put it on the tray, you can basically just take your tips of your fingers and just spread it all over.
I think I like the fact that, Chef, you've mentioned that you don't use flour for a lot of the stuff, and that, yes, it makes the messiness much less, but
Yes.
also I guess it keeps the originalness of the dough without having to add more of that flour, because you want the flavors to stick to it.
100%, no, totally. I know there's certain breads you get that's like a Portuguese bun, which there's a little bit of flour on. You can touch a flour on there. Perfect, and that's your lovely seed stick.
These are your breadsticks, right? These
Yes.
are your signature breadsticks. Palasa, these things can go up to this long.
Trust me, I saw one, yeah.
And they're lovely for before dinner or for a party snack, and it's so simple and they look so cool. Like,
So, Chef, this is the time now where everyone can get creative.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yes.
can just have fun and play.
absolutely.
Okay.
And, that's a beautiful part of it. So what the next step is, we're going to do something sweet.
Okay.
So you can just clear out your
Seeds.
seeds.
Okay.
All right. Then you're going to lay your chocolate
Same
in
step.
front. Same step.
Okay.
You're going to do exactly what you did with the seeds. You can use any sort of chocolate, from dark to milk to white chocolate, also perfect. And peanut butter as well if you want to.
Oh, wow. So this depends, I suppose, on what your taste's like.
Yes,
Like
and
that.
you don't want to overdo it as well, whatever. You just keep it simple, and then it will work.
Love that. Okay. So once our chocolate is down, then again we add the water
Yes.
to our dough.
Perfect.
Okay.
Just paint that all over there.
Over.
And then, Chef, you mentioned that, you started out at a very young age, 12 years old, in the
Yes.
middle of East London. So then what brings you to Cape Town? How did your journey with bread progress?
So it all started. You always thought, Cape Town's a big city. You just
Yeah.
there's all the restaurants, all the big bakeries are there, and East London is quite small, and you just and that age you just dream big. It's unbelievable. I just wanted to go there. So my partner studied in Stellenbosch. I've never studied in my whole life. I've just been working at places and just gaining experience.
Wow.
And I just kept on learning, and
Wow.
that's right.
I love the fact that your story is quite heavily driven on, a lot of people do go to school and do seek that formal training, which we absolutely applaud, and I'm so for, but there's also an element of empowering yourself through experience, because sometimes experience is just the best teacher.
Absolutely. So with the chocolate, you can do any sort of movement or, sorry.
Can I make mine round?
Yes, that's correct. Perfect.
So obviously, Chef, like you said, this recipe, we're making breadsticks here, but you could also, like you said, this very same recipe, roll into a ball, make like little buns, make a whole loaf of bread. Would the process change? Because now we're making a breadsticks here, we're using very thin dough.
Yes.
If you were to make a bread dough, perhaps, that you'd put into a loaf, would there be a different process to how you put it into the pan or things like that?
Yes, so what we actually can do is, I will show you one little small piece of,
Okay.
it's basically the shaping of it, it's just that. And let's
Please
go
show
into
us.
that to show you. So that's also such a cool thing about it. You can move around and divide, and if that doesn't work, you can just put everything together again.
Well, I'm about to freestyle my very own bread mix. I'm going to add some bacon.
Perfect.
And some cheese, because those are some of my favorite ingredients and flavors to use in the kitchen.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to see how that's going to come together. Is it okay to mix and add the cheese on top of the bacon just like this?
Absolutely. It's by all means.
Go crazy.
Perfect.
Go crazy.
So what you want to do, you want to create a ball.
Okay.
Which you tuck your dough in
As you
on
roll
the
it.
on the roll, as you like that. And if you're not comfortable with that, you can just basically tuck everything like that in.
Okay.
And just swirl it around, And that, you will see, which you will put down on your surface, and you will just basically make quite nice little roll.
Okay.
And you have to create a seam so that when you bake it, it doesn't explode or wrap.
Okay. And then you could obviously make what kind of rolls from this? What burger buns?
Burger bun rolls, hot dog rolls, so many.
The sky's the limit here. I don't think that I have enjoyed bread in so many different types of way. I know that at home, especially a lot of kids right now are back at school full on, and they're enjoying a lot of bread within their lunch boxes. So this is a fresh, lovely way of enjoying those lunch boxes. But mom, dad, everyone, guardians, take it up a notch and make it yourself.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Definitely.
Beautiful. Okay, I'm well on my way here. My bacon and cheese roll, breadstick rather, is pretty much done.
And basically that's it, Chef, where you can get as creative as you want with the fillings, with the toppings.
Yes.
I mean, we've swirled the seeds around. Could you even perhaps open up the dough and put something in there and then bake it with that? I mean, like with garlic bread, that's, I guess, how they do it, where you slice it up?
Yes. That is also, like, you will see like this type of bread here. You can now lay it out.
Okay.
You can even make a flatbread out of this, which is so easy. So I'll quickly explain to you so you can take flour or oil, and you can just basically press out the sides of it, like that. And it's really as simple as it looks like a nice little pie. And then you can basically just stretch it out, take a rolling pin, and create your own little flatbread.
Wow.
And would this be the kind of bread that a dough that you don't use a rolling pin? You always want to use your hands, or can you use a rolling pin?
Preferably yes, but you can use a rolling pin.
Okay.
If you want it to just get it thinner.
Okay.
But I like it quite doughy.
I see, like you're getting your hands, like you're literally feeling it with your hands.
Yes.
But it's what we say about using all your senses, when you're in the kitchen, and that's what I love, where you can actually feel it at the tip of your hands.
Perfect. Yeah.
I love that. Well, Chef, whilst we're putting the finishing touches on our fillings of the bread, after the break, what do you have up your sleeve? What are we going to be making? So
next is my ultimate favorite, brioche.
Well, as Chef said, say no more. We're going to be creating a delicious brioche coming up.
Express yourself.
Welcome back to our Afternoon Express Bake Along, where we have our guest chef who's walking us through very steadily how to create the best artisanal breads. Now, chef, we are ready for this delicious brioche that you just nail every single time. But for some of our viewers who are not familiar with the brioche, what is it?
So it's like we did before, basic bread dough, but instead of just that, we add a little bit more butter, egg, and then of course your milk. So it's milk based. Yes.
So here's where we get a little creamy with our bread.
Yes, that's
Love
correct.
that, okay.
Lovely, soft, buttery, fluffy, lovely to toast. Brilliant.
Well, let's get baking, and whilst we start, I mean, can you just tell us what we need for it? You've already mentioned some top ingredients.
Sure. So we're going to start off with your sponge. It's similar to a starter, which just reactivates the yeast quicker, so that the end result is fluffy and more lovely. So we're going to take our flour. We're going to add our, let's see, our yeast.
So I can see your yeast looks quite different to our yeast.
Yes.
Can you please explain to us?
So this is your baker's yeast. That's basically the same as the instant yeast, but the instant yeast's been dried out of this, so it's got a strong flavor yeast of it, so it reactivates quicker. Yeah. Okay. So yeast in the bowl, flour, tiny bit of sugar, just to wake it up a bit. Then we're going to basically add our milk.
All the milk.
All the milk. That's correct. So you want your milk to be at around about 22 degrees, which is like lukewarm water. Lukewarm milk.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a whisk and we're going to just basically get everything together.
And this is definitely a more luxurious recipe, because if you think about it, the first recipe, Palisa, we used just water. So now we've brought in the big guns. We've got butter. We've got the creaminess and the protein from the egg. We've got milk, So it definitely is, by far, for me, brioche is probably by far my favorite dough or bread to eat. And now I actually get to make it from scratch.
Yeah.
So I'm actually just as excited. But like, if you were to rate the bread doughs, because you're a bread maker, so there's got to be one that for you, because yes, you started your journey because of pizza dough.
Yes.
But like, what is your one dough that still is your favorite child of all of them?
The dough that the supermarkets always bake, mix, and they always sell it in the packet in the fridges.
Yes.
That was all-time favorite. Can't wait to get to the supermarket to get that pack, and just to put it in the tin, and just can't wait till it's baked. I mean, that's like a childhood. I'm sure a lot of people are still doing it. It's lovely.
Childhood memories definitely flashing back.
Perfect.
Okay.
So you want to, if everything is mixed, you're just going to leave it. It needs around about between 8 to 15 minutes to basically create the sponge. It's literally a sponge that's going to come up, and then if that's done, you're going to mix it into your flour. So into this bowl, you can actually put in 1 egg.
Okay. And chef, with the sponge dough that we just made now, do you want the sugar to dissolve, or it doesn't really matter if it
Yes, that's why, the lukewarm milk also helps it to evaporate it.
Perfect.
Then we're going to add our salt. Just because the yeast is already starting to activate, so
So we don't need to duplicate the yeast again.
Yes.
Okay.
Then we're going to add our lovely butter. The best part. And then some more sugar.
Hey.
Just because it's...
This is what I love about the brioche dough. It has a touch of sweetness in it, not too much, but a touch, and that just basically sets it apart from all the other doughs for me, and that's why it's a favorite for me.
One of my favorites as well, you don't need even oil or anything with this, because the butter makes it so elastic. You can literally press it.
Oh wow, I want to see that coming together quite nicely.
Yes.
So now once all of these ingredients are into our bigger bowl, we just mix it on in?
That's correct,
Okay,
yes.
perfect.
Okay,
Get
cool.
to
So
mixing.
spatula, wooden spoon, doesn't really matter.
All right.
Whatever is comfortable for you. I'm going to use a spatula just to create like we did before, but a wooden spoon is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I naturally picked up a wooden spoon, but now that you do mention why you're using a spatula, I think I'm going to change. Because that does make a lot of sense. It just makes it that much easier.
And then
if you want to, you can add a little bit of the starter into here, like just a tiny bit, just so that you can just get everything together.
Okay. And then, chef, you did also mention the butter is at room temperature.
Yes.
So we're not using cold butter.
That's correct.
All right.
If you use cold butter, it will make crumbs, and then you're going to make pastry.
Okay, brilliant,
Perfect.
chef.
Perfect. So once that is all done,
Do you want the butter to also like be fully mixed in, or it won't really matter?
it won't really matter.
Okay.
Because once we add that to that, you will see everything will just come lovely together.
Okay, I think I'm going to add some more starter dough in here because it's just looking a little dry compared to yours, chef.
So, chef, if you didn't have a starter dough, would it still be brioche bun or a brioche dough, or
Yes.
is this very important?
It's very important. It creates that fluffiness as well as it makes the process faster. Because if you don't do that, it's going to take like half a day.
Wow.
Just because it's butter in something heavy and also egg.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it makes the process quite quicker.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's coming together quite well.
Yes.
This is simple, this is easy, and is this just what you are all about? Simple, easy, quick in the kitchen, but also labor of love when creating your bread.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Okay, brilliant. And then when you finished massaging it out quite thoroughly, I think yours is quite well in its way compared to mine.
Perfect.
Then what?
So you can actually add a little bit more of the starter dough.
Okay.
Better.
I'm looking at your dough, your starter dough, and I can actually see there's a bottom layer at the
Yes,
bottom of it.
that's
It's
correct,
already
yeah,
thickening
there.
up as though it's a custardy type consistency.
Absolutely, and that's actually the difference between the active yeast and which is nothing wrong with the instant yeast. In fact, just if you want to make the process quicker, you can use 2 packets if you want. Make it
Okay.
quick. Yeah.
So
And
the
then-
active yeast is more potent in essence.
Yes, that's correct. So, and the butter and the milk and egg don't really, it's not yeasty at all in the end, because that basically just fills it in. You know.
Brilliant. So, chef, is this it? That's
This is
as
it.
simple as it is.
As simple as it.
creating that delicious brioche dough.
Yes.
And then how long does it go into the oven for? And
So brioche you normally bake on quite a high heat, on 200 degrees, for between 12 to 15 minutes. Depends on the size. If you're making a loaf, it will go up to 18 minutes.
Okay.
And then, once the sponge is reached to the top, you're just going to basically fold it in.
Okay.
And then you're going to, basically everything will come together as a dough.
Okay.
It will rise, and simple as that.
good to enjoy. Coming up, we're going to be using this delicious brioche dough to create some cinnamon buns with figs.
Express yourself.
So, we've had classic fashion from Timby, classic cars, thanks Chad, and we've seen classic hairstyles. And you, Michael? Classic.
A classic range from Clover. Timeless taste.
Made with love by Clover.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express, where now it's time to put a sweet ending to what's been a very insightful bake-along. Yes, you heard it right. We've been baking side by side with our guest chef, Chef Francois. Now it's time to make delicious cinnamon rolls with figs.
Fantastic. I mean, just look at it. Butter everywhere. Sugar, cinnamon, nuts. It's amazing.
It works.
It is.
Now, Dumi, I know you also have a sweet tooth. You love yourself these sweet treats.
Yeah, Palestine, this is for me. Like, we were having fun with you at the beginning of the show. Now it's my time to shine. I'm all about that sweet stuff. You know,
Okay.
We've got figs, we've got our Clover classic custard that we're going to put in there. This is for me.
Okay, so where do we get
Playtime.
started?
Before we get started, Chef wants to just show us and the viewers what happened with that active yeast.
Yes, so you can see basically it's like forming like jelly but becoming a sponge.
So
you
this
can
is
actually-
essentially that starter dough that
Yes.
you took us through, and now Chef is just showing us how now the active yeast has already started to rise within that starter dough, creating that incredibly almost custardy jelly-like consistency, sponge-like consistency.
Yes, and that creates all the lovely air inside and elasticness of the brioche.
Delicious. It's smelling amazing in the kitchen, so let's get cooking or baking. Let's get baking.
Perfect. So with cinnamon rolls, we're gonna basically take it out. Like so. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So with brioche, you don't really need a lot of oil or flour because there's butter inside. It really doesn't stick to anything. You know. I mean, brioche buns. There's so many to do with brioche. It's so lovely.
Yeah.
You're so used to this already, Chef. Yours is a rectangle, and I'm like, show me how you did it again.
Yes. So you can just basically turn it around. Lovely.
Do not look at my
Yes, like
shape.
that.
Okay.
So now we're gonna, you can use a rolling pin or you can use your hands to basically just stretch it out.
Okay.
So are you gonna use a rolling pin?
Yeah, I'm going to try
Maybe I
mine.
might need it because, I mean, you're used to this.
A rolling pin on mine.
You just wanna roll it out
Okay.
to about like 1 to 2 centimeters, it's fine. You get so many varieties of cinnamon buns, longer with more rolls
Yeah.
in or shorter and thicker.
Okay.
Doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Stunning. So now we've played with our dough, we have stretched it out. It seems to be the right consistency and the thickness that we want.
Yes.
And then how do we start adding these decadent ingredients into the mix?
So basically there's so many different ways to do it, but you can start off just putting oil on the surface of your brioche. You can use butter because there's so much butter in the dough. It's not really
You don't have to
You don't
add
have
the
to.
oil.
But if you like very naughty, you can. Perfect. Your oil is spread all over.
Yeah.
Then your second most important is your sugar.
Okay.
Can be any types of sugar from brown to white or to caramelized sugar as well.
Delicious.
It's up to you.
Now, Chef, I've seen a lot of people when making cinnamon rolls, funny enough, they call them cinnamon rolls, but the cinnamon is never in the actual dough. It's just the filling.
That's correct, yeah. So that's, you will see the lovely pattern it makes as well. It's just, and it's not overpowering.
Yeah. It also adds just that visual treat when it comes to looking
No.
at it. The swirls and the spirals always look so nice when you see that cinnamon infused in there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So yes, your sugar.
Okay, and the oil is basically to help the sugar and the
Perfect.
fillings to stick as well.
That's correct.
Perfect.
So once you have your sugar layered over the brioche.
So
you
you're
can-
doing that to put the sugar, sort of like to help it stick or to
Yes.
get it into the dough itself?
to get it in and to help it stick as well. And then after that, you can actually then start getting into your cinnamon.
Okay. And then, Chef, I know that you've got a signature fig cinnamon roll
Yes.
at your bakery. And so I've decided to put a bit of my extra flavor here because I'm going to be well, in essence, replicating your cinnamon roll with figs.
Perfect.
And we're going to be putting our Clover Classic custard in there. Is that, I mean, with adding, flavors into this stuff, is there a technique? Is there something to consider? Because some things are considered heavy, so it sinks to the bottom. Is there something to always consider, or can you be creative as well?
You can be creative. I mean, we're going to take the Clover Classic and basically just drizzle it before we roll it. Instead of, we're also going to drill it afterwards just to make it more exciting, but we basically just going to go all out today.
Okay, Chef, let's start putting it all together quite quickly and quite easily, because that's what this recipe is all about.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What other ingredients do we have in front of us? I see some nuts, I see some, is that white chocolate and some cocoa?
Perfect. So if you want to, you can use your cocoa powder just to drizzle, just to give that nuttiness, more nuttiness of the chocolate. So you can just pour it over.
Okay.
And then for the icing sugar, we can leave for dusting later.
Okay.
Perfect. Now we're going on to our figs. So you can basically take your figs and just place them on the first side there.
Thank you.
Oh, just on the one side.
It's totally up to you, but I prefer on the first side, like so.
Okay.
I mean, it's fig season, so
Rather use fresh.
if you make it in winter, preserved figs are also perfectly fine.
Nice.
Perfect. And then you're going to take a little bit of nuts, and also that just creates texture.
Okay.
Adding that crunch.
Salted nuts, normal nuts, it's all perfectly fine.
Okay.
Okay, start rolling. You want to basically just first tuck it in.
Okay, can I go in with my custard?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
I'm gonna add some chocolate. Oh, I see. Mine is. Oh, I've got options. Yeah. I'm loving the fact that I also have some white chocolate that I can add, just to add a variation and variety here.
Fantastic.
And then I'm gonna start rolling.
Perfect.
Would you like some as well?
I'm going to definitely use this.
And another thing, Chef, because this is such a luxurious recipe, I like the fact that we're using Clover Classic custard ballet. It is a source of vitamins A, B2, and D. So it's a pleasure that you won't actually feel bad about, because, I mean, you've got all the goodness in there. So you're adding more custard, Chef. Haibo. Am I the only one that didn't get this memo?
Why not add that decadence? Now, mine is already just spilling over, spewing
same
over,
here.
but I am not fighting that, because the more decadent, the better. As we have said, we've been creating savory dishes from the top of the show. So now it's time for all of those with a bit of a sweet tooth. So now that I've rolled out my my dough, mine is definitely a chunky monkey.
Same here.
Then how do we
perfectly
put the
fine.
finishing touches to it, Chef?
So basically, it's going to be intact like so, and then you're going to basically get a knife, and you're going to just portion it, and then until you get
can
your
show.
portion size. No worries at all. I've got my...
Your handy dandy knife.
Thanks so much. Perfect. And this is totally up to you. You can go thin, long.
Stunning. Simple, easy peasy. I mean, Mzansi, I have to definitely give a round of applause to Chef Francois, because he's helped us through all things bread here in the kitchen today. Whether you're making something sweet or something savory, this one is for you. But we have added the incredible creaminess of Clover Classic custard here, and I'm just loving it all. And in case you've missed any of the steps as to how to whip up these delicious cinnamon rolls with figs, catch this recap.
Made with love by Clover.
Dumi, you've done such an incredible job on those recaps. But Chef, just in case we've missed it, how long do we have to keep the cinnamon rolls within our oven for, and at what temperature?
Temperature 200 degrees is perfectly fine. And then also 12 to 15 minutes.
Love that. Now we're going to be enjoying our incredible bready treats after the break around the table. Now Dumi, thank you so much for showing us all of this. What most are you looking forward to enjoying?
I'm looking most forward to the cinnamon rolls, Palisa. You know me and my sweet tooth, Mos. I want the sugar.
Coming up, we have an incredible chat with Chef Francois.
Express yourself.
Welcome back, Mzansi, and now it's time to officially break some bread, of course, with Chef Dumi and our guest chef for the afternoon, Chef Francois. I'm very excited now to dive into all of this. But Chef, if you were to just divulge everything that's in front of us now, there are different types of bread in front of us.
Sure, definitely. So, of course, yeah, lovely brioche, the lovely stuff we baked here, the chocolate sticks, I mean, cheese, oh, you know, name it. So it's lovely.
You name it, it's there. If I can just pass this over to you, and you can give me some of that. Now, South Africa, I don't know if you remember, but this was the breadstick that I created earlier. But can you see how much it's grown in size? And of course, the color on this is incredible. So I'm very much looking forward to trying it, and it's still warm.
It is, Balas. I mean, if you look at it, you can actually see the air bubbles inside there. It's so nice and fluffy. It's so nice and soft. It's nice and crunchy and crisp on the outside and very nice and soft on the inside.
Nothing as nice as fresh, warm bread.
Oh,
Absolutely. This
Nice
is delicious, Chef. But also, this is white bread. You also have some rye, whole wheats. If you can show us the difference and how then you'd mix that in.
Sure. So basically, this is a whole wheat bread, which is 60% whole wheat bread and 40% bread flour. And of course, your rye is 60% rye and 40% normal flour, and basically the same ratio. And it's been shaped as a normal bread, round. And this one is got some lovely seeds on top, and also lovely for packing lunchbox, making some lovely sandwiches.
This is delicious. I mean, the flavor on it, the bacon, the cheese coming together quite well. And then those herbs that we added as well. And I love the fact that there's different types of flavors that can represent your different kind of taste, whatever you like.
Right.
You can add that. I know, Stumi, you were telling me a very cute story about yourself and Chef, the times that you needed him to come to the rescue.
You know, I was trying to get hold of Chef because I needed to get some information from him. Sent him a message of normal during time. I think it was 7, 8 in the evening. Did he not respond to me at 4 o'clock in the morning? And I was like, this man, because he's so dedicated, because he does this himself. It's his, you know, his thing, it's his passion. He's always wanted to make, he started from pizza. I mean, look at me, pizza dough, from pizza dough to this, and this is guy works until 4 a.m.
So, Chef, because you essentially put this labor of love together, one man by yourself, it's got you up at all odd hours of the morning.
Yeah, I mean, that's a baker's life. You have to.
The baker's man, absolutely. I love that about you. But, Chef, what then do you say about these lockdown bakers? Because people are coming for your spot.
No, a lot of people feeling the pressure. Sorry, a lot of bakers are feeling the pressure. I mean, lockdown's been so much baking going on, from sourdoughs to, I mean, just name it. And I'm telling you, I'm actually getting quite nervous.
They're making you sweat.
Yeah.
Well, I love the fact here that you are being so creative and you're being so individualistic within your bread and the way you create it. And I believe that's what sets you apart from the rest. The way that you put yourself in your food. Is that just something you've always been about?
Definitely. I mean, sit on a table to be able to break bread, starting conversations, and it's real bread. It's packed with full of flavor and passion, and there's nothing as nicer than that. Yeah.
I love it.
just enjoy
Dumi, how is that chocolate bread going?
This must be one of yours, Palisane. I mean, the fact that you actually need nothing more. You said, Chef, we didn't need to put sugar into this dough. But Palisa, the flavor of the chocolate, the flavor of the, you know, for me, a good bread, you can taste the yeastiness of it. It's not overpowering, but you can taste the love. Let me just say it. You can taste the love that went into the chef, and this is really amazing. Thank you so much.
Delicious. I'm also trying right now the cinnamon roll with figs. Delicious. I mean, it's not too sweet. It's not overpowering, but also it's just that perfect amount of sweetness that you need after indulging in the savory.
Definitely. I mean, you can eat it for breakfast and for dessert. Nothing wrong with that. No.
Love a good menu, a good versatile menu. Well, again, we appreciate it. All the best. Thank you so much for coming to share your gems with us. Mzansi, if you want the full ingredients list and recipe, go on to afternoonexpress.co.za and you'll be able to make these incredible carb-delicious dishes. Thank you so much, Dumi, as well. Always a treat to have you.
Only a pleasure, Pali. I'm just glad that we could teach ourselves and the rest of South Africa how to make these amazing baked goods.
Absolutely. And Mzansi, thank you so much for tuning in. But from us here on Afternoon Express, we say good night, stay safe, and happy eating. Goodbye.
Every love story is beautiful. Celebrate the month of love with your family favorites. Made with love by Clover.
Another feel-good production.